What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a new rear exhaust on the Mighty Max. I've wanted to do this for months, I've been slacking hard, we're finally getting to it. Check it out. So in the very beginning I built this exhaust that exits out the side and I was super happy with it because you can see it fits like ridiculously good. And this was just the product of some painter's tape, some Sharpie lines, and a lot of time and very slowly grinding it until it fit right. But of course when I did this section of the side of the bed was still there, and that's before I realized it was going to end up being as wide as it is. So now that I've had to cut that out, it obviously doesn't look right, and it's got to go. I got a bunch of stainless. It's all 065 3-inch stainless steel tubing, and I got some 90s. I got a polished tip. This is a 3-inch to 4-inch transition here, and it should look pretty cool. I do know that I'm going to have to trim the roll pan, which is a little bit intimidating because this roll pan is immaculate. It's so perfect. There's like no damage to it. There's no cracks. Anything that would make me want to cut it up isn't there, so I have to really take my time. I've got a bunch of 3-inch straight, again, 065 wall, 3-inch stainless steel, and then I got a couple different V-bands to use where needed, and then some scrap from whoever welded this, I don't really know, but half-inch stainless rod that I can use for exhaust hangers if need be. I'll definitely need a couple hangers to be added, and then I've got this here, which these are all, again, the same material, same thickness, just in 90-degree bends, so that we can make our bends if we need to and get it up and over that axle. So we're up in the air now. You can see I've got a nice little zip tie assembly here to keep this from rattling. A buddy welded this for me years ago, and then I welded this section in, which is also stainless and it's not polished, but I MIG welded it with stainless wire. It's just not very attractive looking, and it was to delete a electric muffler that used to be in here. So you can tell it's really close to the frame there, and we built this with, I don't know, 2 years to go on the actual runtime. So you know, any problems that we have now, we could have never really experienced right away since it sat for so long after it was welded. I would like to get rid of these MIG welds and just kind of turn a new leaf as far as the exhaust quality goes. It was super nice in the beginning, and then I didn't have a TIG, so I made do with what I had. We're gonna come back, we're gonna go up over the axle here, gonna come down, and then we're gonna come right, swing left around that condenser, and then come out somewhere in this area here. This is the hardest part for sure, like I said before, cutting the roll pan, but also just making an angle look right. I don't want it to be too steep, but I do want that Japanese look, the import look, and so that's what I'm striving for. So I quickly realized I just need to build this section first and then build to it, because there's no way to get this right if I don't have an end mark. Start mark is pretty loose, and so is the actual routing over the axle. So I'm gonna get this dialed in. I'm just going to kind of wing it. So covered it in painter's tape and then got a rough idea of where I want it. Now obviously it's gonna be angled up. It's gonna sit much higher up in this curvature, this radius that's not yet trimmed out. And then it's going to tip in. I don't know how much. My biggest problem is when cars have exhausts that look like this. I think it looks ridiculous. To each their own, but for me that's not the goal here. So something like that angle-wise, again, obviously tucked up. And you know, looking at it from back here, I don't think that looks terrible. I'm gonna have to just slowly cut it out and get it right. And then if you look at it from up here, this is why I'm doing this before I have the bed floor, that angle is actually too much. Now, of course, I can cut this 4-inch section down as long as I have the transition, and then, you know, 5 or 6 inches of 4-inch, I'm okay. Right now I've got over 12 inches, so that can be trimmed out, and then I can pull it forward or back if need be. And then of course I can also run a 90 on the other side to get it away from that dryer as easily as possible. And this might seem kind of crazy, but if it looks weird to you, go look under any full-size truck and look at the exhaust routing. It's really not that weird. It's weird for this. It's weird for like car standards, but to achieve the look I want, this is kind of what has to happen. So I'm gonna start trimming it out. What I'm gonna do is take this piece here. I've got my rough center and my rough outer edges. Again, very rough. I cannot stress that word enough. But what I'm gonna do is hold this up like this, Sharpie line it, and then start trimming it out extremely slowly, and then test fit a million times. I might time lapse this, I might just, I don't know yet, haven't decided. I might just come back and have it trimmed. But that's the plan, and then once I get this in a fixed position with a hanger or two on it so I know it's not gonna move, I can just play connect the dots. I just cut it. There's no real point in showing you the step-by-step ways to cut this, but I use a jigsaw, which might sound a little crazy. It's got a bimetal blade on it, and I actually hold this part of the base of the saw with my left hand and control the trigger with my right, and I hold it off. Now this works well for me for thin metal like this is, and the reason I do that mostly is because if you lay this plate against the material, you can scratch the painted surface. So I've got extra tape around that edge. What I did was I cut it straight like I showed you with my little template. There's a couple different Sharpie lines here, and then I would hold it up and just see where, you know, when it's straight, when it's like this, it obviously is gonna fit different than when it's angled. So first I did it straight, and then I kind of eyeballed it and would just do a little line here and there and so on and so forth until you find the right way to get the curvature, and then you take off less than you think you need and you work towards it. If you ever want to do something like this, you know, just take your time, always. It's always the rule. I still think we need to go up a bit. I don't want to go into this piece here, but I know I can get a little bit closer to it before I have any issues. As for looking back here, we've got more than enough room. It's not going to be an issue. I'll probably 90 straight up and maybe slightly that direction, and that'll be a straight shot all the way back. All right, so a little more trimming, and I'm super happy with the current location of it. So from directly in the center, it's a little angled. I mean, it's clearly angled, but it's not anything crazy when you're looking straight down on it. And this might change a little bit, but you know, it's just held up with a jack for right now. But it tucks up pretty tight. It's higher than the lower jack point. Overall, stoked. There we go. So I'm gonna get that mounted up, and then I'm going to connect the dots like we talked about before. I showed you the 1/2" rod that I've got. What I've done in the past is I'll go get these universal rubber hangers. They sell these at like Advance, Checkers, O'Reilly's, whatever part of the country you're in, you can find them somewhere. And I'll use a riv nut. So like, I'll riv nut the frame here with like an M8 nutsert, and then I will bolt the hanger to the frame, and then I will weld it down. So it just makes it a lot easier to get these hangers off. You've probably fought with hangers before where you're trying to get WD-40 in here and loosen them and lube them up and pull them off. And it sucks, and we all deal with it, and especially if you drive the car year round and it gets salt or just grime or whatever, it's a lot harder to get off. So if you bolt them on one side and then have the hanger on the other, it works out pretty well. So I've got my riv nuts here. I've only got, I think, these two plus one more M8s. And the M8 actually fits a little bit loose in the rubber hanger, but that's nice because it'll be less likely to get stuck on there. It's not super loose, and I'll use a big flat washer, like a fender washer on here, but it will allow me to bolt it to the frame, and this will run down to the exhaust. Now this is definitely not the recommended way to bend something like this, but I don't have a great way to bend it, so I have this nice hole in this metal table here that's very sturdy, or at least we're gonna find out how sturdy it is. Look at that. It's very close. I'm gonna do this a few more times and prep a couple hangers so I don't have to come back and forth every time I'm ready to hang a new one. And then we'll mount it up. So I'm gonna put a riv nut here real quick, and then I'm gonna run the bar across, and I'll show you what that looks like. I don't wanna see any hangers if I can help it. So check this out. This is what I came up with thus far. I've got one hanger over here, and I got one over here on one of the bed mounts. So I bent the bar so it goes 90 degrees through that, it comes down and goes over. If you watch this, it rotates up and down, which is cool. It gives me that adjustment, and if it ever gets seized, I just unbolt this 8mm. Same with up here, and they pull right off, and I can pull the whole tip off. Let me get that tacked up, and I'll show you how it's gonna work. So I got it tacked up. It's just a fusion tack, very, very light. I'm gonna add a little bit of filler so it's strong enough to flex around. I got it installed. I welded a bead on either side. It's really perfect, honestly. I cut off the old exhaust outlet, so it used to go out there, so it's cut off. I went ahead and tacked it onto this V-band flange. I left this tube here. This is the one I talked about changing out because it is MIG welded to the muffler down there. But the problem is I forgot I had done this. It's cut down so much so because at one point I was gonna ditch this muffler that I don't really have any room or real estate left to cut it and then re-weld it again. I got a hanger in here holding this up, just a little rubber piece, and that allows me to get a little more trans mount clearance. Because this is already pretty dialed, I don't know if I really want to play around with cutting this up either. I'm gonna leave it and then possibly build a different trans mount. Haven't completely decided, but for this, I've gained a ton of clearance here. As you can see, there's definitely enough room. It's not gonna rub on that frame anymore. This can be rotated up or around so that the bolt's obviously not super low and touching the road. But for ease of access, I got it like that. So I've got that going over, and then the plan is to build a 90-degree off of here, come over to here. I've got my wheel tub, stuffed a bunch of shop towel rolls in there just to hold the fender up, and give me an idea of where my floor is going to be so that I don't go too high with the exhaust system. I've got a lot of space here to build it. I just want to make sure I don't come into contact with these 4-link bars, obviously with the axle, and then coming back over here, same thing. I want to have enough room so it can run in the middle right here, not touch the strut or spring at all. And you know, if I ever run a bigger tire, they're so wide that everything's going to be out here anyway. Nothing is going to really live here. It's not a huge concern of mine to worry about this space. I know it looks like I should leave it available, but this is a 245 and I need to go 2.5 inches out or 2 1/4 to match that front track width right now. So it's gonna go that way and I'll still have inches of clearance for the new wheel tire setup that's coming in the next few months. I went ahead and tacked up 2 90s together. A lot of times it's nice to have something like this so you can eyeball an angle real quick and see if you're remotely close. So I can set this up here and say, oh, okay, cool, we're gonna go up, we're gonna come down, whatever. And I instantly can tell that no matter what happens up there, this angle right here is too much. I really need to have a 45 right there, right here, instead of a 90. So that's cool to figure that out. And then I also was messing around with a 90 in the tip here. And again, same idea, whether or not I run a 90 up there, but this 90 here is a little too steep. So I've already cut a 45, and I'm gonna set the 45 in here with a straight welded to it, and we'll see what that looks like. So let's tack that up real quick. So I just set it in here, and this is, thankfully it's a slip fit, so it's nice because I can test fit it a lot easier. One thing I have to remember is that when I weight this backside or when it pushes down on it, because of the weight, it's gonna raise this tip and push it into the truck. So with a C-clamp, a couple of zip ties, and some luck, I've got this floating here. It's a little loose, I can manipulate it, but it's where I want it. I've got good shock clearance. I'm nice and far away from the tire for like radiant heat, which back here is not a huge problem, but it will get hot. So yeah, I'm gonna weld a 90 to a straight to fill out this section here, and then we'll come back and we'll test fit this, and I think we're gonna be able to just boom right up to that, and then same goes for that. After getting this roughly in position, I took a 90 and I set it just like that. I got it a little closer, and then I Sharpie lined that side and this side here to get like a rough idea on where to cut it. And it fits almost perfect. Got this piece tacked up. I went ahead and fusion welded it just to make it a little bit stronger. It's also sitting on a jack stand, and you know, down there my V-band is not completely tight or even fully welded all the way around. So then my last piece, the most difficult, I've got this section, and I marked it on the back there, kind of where it's gotta be. Got it in position here, and then I went ahead and cut a piece, and I can't really show you that with fantastic. Polished? Not anymore. Anyway, this piece will sit something like this, and the reason for different lettering is not only to denote size but also rotation. This is not a perfect cut piece as far as like cutting a jig or whatever, so it is size specific. I'm gonna tack this on real quick, tack that one on, and then I'll show you what it looks like in place. And then because I'm doing this by myself, I can't really check the tailpipe until I get this tacked. I think it's right, I can do the best that I can, but that's all I got. I was able to rotate this slightly in the V-band up there, and the gap is really dope. I had to throw a little filler on it just to make sure it was strong enough, and then I burned through in a few spots. I'm really not super experienced with stainless or TIG in general for that matter, but the ones that I do weld look relatively okay, and I know it'll hold. So let me show you how well the tip fits. It is perfect how I wanted it. Oh, I think I actually moved it. Let's see. There we go. It does roll a little bit, but yeah. So that is exactly what I wanted. It's centered, and you know, once I put another hanger on it, it should help with any sort of movement or whatnot. So the plan is to build a stainless like flange, a little flat plate with 2 M6 bolts to bolt it to the top of this frame rail. The reason I want to put it here over anywhere else is, you know, any farther down, I'm already pretty close to the ones I have back there. And same goes for one this direction. Now I could add one off the bed rail or the bed mount right there, this piece. But first I'm gonna just try one. And oh yeah, you can see it still rotates in that flange a little bit, which is what changes the tip position. So I'll make sure that's right, and then I'll bolt this one here, and the hanger is gonna bend up and chill like that. And then this piece will come, I'm gonna weld it to the top of this pipe, weld it around here, and then have it come up and go into that hanger. Went ahead and added one more weld here with a little bit of filler, and then I did another couple tacks around, or I actually welded a bead on this V-band here. That wasn't the easiest process. All right, so about 17 business days later, everything is finally welded. Some of them look really cool. I'm gonna go ahead and bypass all the shit ones and show you the cool ones. This was the last one that I did, and it is easier to weld a flange where you can put more heat into it. These were from a buddy from the past, and then not too shabby, decent. I mean, some of the gaps weren't great. Fitting up the tubing is definitely more than half the battle when it comes to TIG welding at all. These ones came out all right. But yeah, it's good to roll. So I'm gonna get it installed, and then I gotta add one hanger somewhere in this area. I also welded the other V-band flange on to the existing Vibrant resonator. This flange right here is fresh. That's all good to go too. So we're gonna pop it on. I got Don here helping me and filming. And that way we don't bump into everything underneath here installing it. I got the whole system installed. I got everything tight. And I definitely have to add one more hanger. I was hoping that I could maybe get away without doing it, but I've been planning on it anyway. Unfortunately, I just dropped my torch from setting it on the table like this, and it pulled it off and broke my cup. So I put this cup on for now. I'm going from a 14 to a 7, unfortunately. I've been dreading doing this for a while, knowing that it would happen, but it's all right. We're just building a hanger. Screw it. Update, I cannot get my torch to work with the other number 7 cup, so I used the broken cup, and you can tell. Went ahead and got this bolted up. It came out really cool. It's just got 2 rib nuts on here, and I think they're strong enough. There's a little bit of flex. What I may end up doing is running a secondary tube that kind of like bends with this and then comes down and has a plate here, so that the leverage pushed down on this rod will be taken, you know, be supported on the side of the frame rail. It's mostly just how do I set it up to where it's not going to interfere with suspension and axle movement. And then of course these are going to get cut down. I just wanted to drive it last night and I had plans, so I threw it together the best I could. This is the one that was also welded on with terrible gas coverage, or pretty much none, and it's only on that side, so you can tell it's actually bent. It was parallel with the rod above it, but because it's only welded there, it has shifted from a drive or two and a couple of clutch kicks on the street, but it sounds awesome. I'm super stoked. So waiting on a new lens, cut that down, fully weld that to this pipe, and maybe add that brace right there, and then we'll be completely done with the system. As far as fitment goes, everything came out pretty much exactly how it was. You do have to be careful with warpage. Obviously most of you know that, but thankfully didn't really have too many effects. I tried to move around a lot. It might be slightly to the right at this angle, but I can shift it over as well. It's minimally off if it is at all though, and it looks sick. I'm super stoked. Like, the noise difference is insane compared to before, and it was rattling because the body's obviously not super complete, and like this would rattle back and forth and drive me nuts. And there was a lot of other noises that I didn't understand or realize were completely exhaust related. So when I drove it, you know, I have all these expectations because I'm just so used to vibrations and sounds, and they just weren't there, and it was amazing. Like, my mind is blown at how well this has changed the exhaust note as far as in-cabin noise. Otherwise it still sounds pretty much the exact same. But everything is shifted back. All the noise is back here, it's behind the truck, and it actually makes it significantly nicer inside. And I still don't have carpet in there. I don't have real door panels, so it's only gonna get better, and I'm super stoked. Hell yeah. All right guys, that's gonna do it for the Mighty Max exhaust video. I hope that you liked it. I hope it was a little something different, but in a good way. And thank you very much for your time. Peace out.